Hello and welcome back to Airbrush Ways. I'm Jack, and in this short video I'm going to show you a real cool way of producing a background before you start to do any artwork on either, like we have here, an aluminium panel, just a piece of aluminium. Or you could use this on a bigger project, or even if you were, say, painting a tank, motorbike, petrol tank. Okay, so we're going to start off. I'm just going to lay a little bit of tape down, and I've got some fine line tape here which I'm going to use just to give a bit of a border on this thing. So we start off by putting this in. And this is just freehand. You could obviously measure this up to get the thing exactly as you want it, but for now I'm just going to do this freehand. So one on either side, roughly the same, they don't have to be exact. I'm just giving you an idea. And then with those in place, and then I'm going to put one on the two edges that we've not done. Don't worry about whether you think I've got it in the right place or in the wrong place. Okay, so with those in place now, and I kind of just get the joints pressed down in the corners where the tape overlaps. Try and reduce the overspray, or underspray should I say, on the tape. I'm now just going to cut these. Okay, so now we've got a little border line around this piece of aluminium plate. Just run your thumbnail over the edges of where one tape goes over the top of the other. That'll just keep it down. Now, with that in place, what I'm going to do now is we can either use a piece of rough sandpaper, like a sponge block sandpaper, or some of this like scouring pad stuff. Or even if you do have something like a Dremel, you can use one of these things on the Dremel, and we're going to make some marks in the middle of the aluminium. So I'm going to start off just with the piece of scouring pad, and the idea of this is you can just bring it into a little bit of a ball like that, and then just start to rub. Okay, so that's kind of that thing, and then I'll just go on to this piece of paper, this piece of sponge sandpaper, just to give you another idea of what we're going to get if we bring this. So now I'll just bring this in. So as you can see, we're starting to leave swirl marks, leave marks into the aluminium panel. Okay, and then last, I'll just give this a go. Ideally, I would get this on a Dremel and just let it do its magic. But what we can do with this now is, if you don't have a Dremel, you can just go out and buy these things, the kind of accessories. I don't know how much they cost, but they're not much, and that will last you forever if this is all you're doing with it. Okay, so I'm now just going to go put this on the top. Okay, and then maybe I'll take this thing again And over that I think I'll just do a few more swirls over the top of those lines that I've just done. So that's that. You can either blow this off or just get a piece of kitchen towel, wipe off the bits that you've produced. And then from there we're going to get our Badger Renegade airbrush. The Mac valve is on here and we're set at 35 psi. I'm going to get some 4030 balancing clay. I'm going to add that into there, so that's going to be the carrier for our Candy 2.0, and the one that I've got out here is called Tealicious, so it's a bluey greeny colour. So the first thing I need to do is just add 20% of the 4030, which doesn't want to come out. Give me a second. And then in with that we're going to get the Candy 2.0, and then from there, nice and light. Now that's the thing with this stuff, fairly light coats. We don't want to go too heavy at first. Build this up, and of course with it being a candy and being a dye, the more you put on, the darker this is going to go. So you could say, well, we'll leave it with just that slight colour on, so if you can see that. And now I'm just going to, for the benefit of this video, I'm going to put a little bit more on here. Okay, so you can see that now we've got a little bit darker and we've got a little bit more of the candy on top of the aluminium. You don't want to go too quick because I'm just doing air now. You don't want to go too quick because it'll start to kind of fish eye, and you'll get that problem with it fish eyeing on you. If you know what that means, you just get as if it's not sticking to the panel. So go nice and slow. Make sure that your panel has dried off, and I wouldn't have put another coat on there at that stage until this was dry. That was enough, and now I'm going to put another coat. I think we'll have dried enough there now. So if you can see again now, I've stopped at that point to show you roughly what it looks like with what we put on there, about 4 or 5 coats, and it does need to dry, so don't go too hastily at it. Okay, so we're going to leave that to dry for a second and then I'll get back to you. So I think that's going to be dry now, so what I'm going to do is just take off the masking around the edge. A lot of the time when I'm doing this, I'll use a little toothpick rather than the X-Acto blade. Just got to be careful when you're doing this, because obviously this doesn't have any clear coat on it. So you've got to be kind of just a bit careful that you don't end up scratching the paintwork. Quite delicate at this stage, this paint. What I would probably do is put a few more coats of the 4030 balancing clear over everything, and then after that I would put some of the 4040 bleed checker over the top, let it dry, and then I would clear coat the whole thing. I'll just kind of see if I can bring you in a bit on this. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how to do this effect on an aluminium plate or a tank, or anything else that you're thinking you might want to do. I'm just shining a light around it to give you an idea of what it looks like. There we go. Quite a nice effect. You have to be real careful that you're not going to scratch the thing, because that will scratch so easy. The actual candy on the top would scratch so easy at this case. Don't forget, you would put the 4040 bleed checker. That would go on top of all that to seal it down, and then I'd spray the thing with a clear coat. To me, that's a nice little way of producing a fancy background without too much work, before you did some artwork maybe in the middle there. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm Jack, this is Airbrush Ways. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed what I've done. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and maybe the little bell icon at the side of it to notify you when I've done another video. Hope to get back to you soon. Okay, bye.